Automation, automation nation, automation nation, automation nation, around the nation. Automation nation, automation nation, automation nation. Around the nation, around the nation, around the nation. Welcome to the Automation Nation podcast, the show for business leaders, tech aficionados, and those who are just simply curious about where technology and business are going. Automation Nation is your gateway to understanding automation, AI, and the future of business. Don't get left behind. Tune in now and subscribe for more. Automation Nation podcast is back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Nicole Davis. So happy to have you here.
And Thank you.
I'm so happy that you are going to be able to share some insight with folks that's going to possibly move their business in the right direction.
I definitely hope so. But Rob, before we get started, I have to ask you, are you singing the intro to your podcast?
You were the first person to ask me that. Yes, that was me.
I can tell. Okay, good. I like it. I love it.
Well, thank you. I was actually going to add a little remix to it for the next show too.
Okay, got it. I definitely want to hear the remix.
And I thank everyone who is tuning in, wherever you're tuning in from. Facebook, we're live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And listen, if you have a question, drop it in the comments, because there is no dumb question. The only dumb question is the one that you didn't ask that you really needed the answer to.
Definitely.
Okay. And so let me read a little bit of Nicole's bio here. So Nicole Davis is a highly energetic, focused accounting professional and business strategist with over 18 years of relevant experience. Her personal and professional motto is make it happen, leaving nothing to chance. She strives to be the trusted advisor of small and medium-sized businesses throughout the metro Atlanta and the United States. Spending most of her career in private industry, she knows the intricacies of business operations and accounting for businesses of all sizes. So for a financial partner that will high-five you when there are ups and hold your hand when there are downs, choose Butler Davis Tax and Accounting. Definitely. It doesn't cost to have a good accountant.
It pays.
But it pays.
Yes, it pays.
So pay attention. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be invited to your podcast today.
Well, I strive, the purpose of this podcast and really of my life is to educate people to be better. And in this part of the 21st century, you have to understand about automation.
Yes.
And how to streamline your operations if you want to stay in business.
Yes, exactly.
So, Nicole, we like to open the show up with a question. We're powered by Simply Automate, and so if you could simply automate one thing in your personal life, what would that be?
That is so funny. All right, so my mom used to have this saying all the time where she said, if we didn't have to sleep, pee, or pump gas, we'll be very happy. So we could automate sleeping, peeing, and pumping gas.
Wow, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT how much time we spend on those individual things. Probably years.
Definitely, yes.
Oh my goodness, that's good. That's good. Well, I opened up with that make it happen. That I love that model. That's a philosophy you live by.
Yes, it is.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
How has that philosophy shaped your approach to the business strategy and automation and what you do? Make it happen.
So for me, I believe I'm a person of action. So I don't really like just talking about the problems or issues or challenges. If I can do something about them, I want to do that. So my whole philosophy around that is that the best way forward is through it. and we know going through something is an action. So for me, it's all about, okay, how do we make things happen? Not just talk about making things happen, but actually making them happen. So as an entrepreneur, especially one that's bootstrapped my way up, I've always had to do more with less. So that's kind of how I like fell into that philosophy or adopted that philosophy because I didn't have a lot to work with. So I had to be very creative and innovative how I got things done. And so for me, it's all about, okay, you don't have all the money in the world. You don't have capital. You're not a trust fund baby. But
Mm,
how can you get from point A to point B with the resources you have? And
mm,
to me, that came down to a lot of automation, process improvement, streamlining.
mm. That say those three words again. Just say those words again. Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes. So it's all about listen, Rob, you got me all up. I don't know what I just said. So whoever
I know.
needs to rehear
I
it,
know.
go ahead, go back and
I
listen.
got the clip. I got the clip. Don't
Okay,
worry.
good, good.
Do not worry. All right. And so during this process, we all have ups and downs. We all have ups and downs.
Yes,
I honestly think it's the downs that help you go further up.
yes.
Honestly, but what are some challenges that you've encountered when you're helping businesses like automate their processes or helping them to overcome some of their challenges? What are some of those challenges you've encountered?
So I think the biggest challenge I've encountered is getting buy-in, especially from those larger companies. I would say companies with 10 or more employees, they have a lot of approval levels, they have a lot of red tape. They are used to doing things the way it's always been done. And when they say if it's not broken, you shouldn't have to fix it. But sometimes it may not be broken, but it may not be the most efficient or effective way to get the job done any
Mm,
longer. So, as technology improves and advances, that there are ways to do things better. And for me, it's all about, okay, showing people like, yes, it's not broken, but there's a better way to do it.
mm. So I like that. If it's not broken, don't fix it. That's an old phrase, but sometimes
Yes,
if it's not broken, it still could be better.
exactly. So we got to do away with that thinking and think about, okay, how can we realize time and cost efficiencies through automation?
And it's interesting. It's easy to get kind of stuck in that
Mhm.
mind frame. It's easy,
It
especially when
is.
you're unaware, because we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly. That is true. That I think that we're all guilty of that. We don't know what we don't know. But the more we, I guess, open ourselves up to what the world is doing and learning from others, then we can be better.
And that's the goal. The goal is to get better. I mean, my
Yeah.
thing is, if we get at least 1% better every day, just 1%, well, there doesn't have to be a massive increase, but
Right.
1% over the year is 365 and 66 on a leap year. We're leaping.
Exactly. We got a return on investment.
I like that. I like that. I like that. And so I know you have some stories.
I
I
do.
know you have some stories.
I do.
Let's share a specific instance where you've seen a transformation when your client's business processes.
Well, I want to say this is a client. This is actually one of my businesses. Last
Okay.
year, well, in February of 2022, we purchased a payroll company. It's a local payroll company. They've been in our community for decades. So the previous owner bought it from the previous owner. So I would say at least been in the community 40 years at least. So we serve about 200 local and regional businesses for their payroll needs. The issue is that it was very manual and it was a very paper-based process. And so the previous owners and their team, they were used to throwing people at a process problem. And so,
Mhm.
when I stepped in, I was like, listen, halt. We're not going to throw any more people at this process problem. We're going to figure out ways how to streamline it, automate it, and make it better overall. So, one of the processes that was very manual and tedious was the billing process. So, in our business, payroll is an a la carte service. You pay for what you use. So we had one billing specialist that was doing all of the billing for all 200 some clients. And it took her literally days to complete. I would say 2, 3, 4 days to complete, depending on the time of year. And so for us, we couldn't invoice the customer until she completed that process. So, as a small business, like cash is king. We need revenue coming in for operations, for payroll, for the plethora of things that happens as you're running a small business. So one of the things that we decided, what I decided to do early on, is, okay, we're going to figure out a way to streamline this process and automate this billing. So
Mm.
enter Airtable. This is when Airtables really started getting a lot of like hoopla,
Ah.
and people were just raving about the use of Airtable. So I built a form that connected to a database that allowed the payroll specialist to submit a billing, which took about 30 seconds per client as they
Mm-hmm.
completed live payrolls. So that was the first step. Build an
Wow.
Airtable with a form that they can submit the billings as they completed each payroll.
Wow.
Then I set up a macro using Excel that would pull that data. Like once you export that data from Airtable, the macro would total the billing by client, and then
Mm.
from there we could take that information, upload it into our GL software, and it will automate. It will bulk create all of the invoices and send them out to all of our clients. So
Wow.
what was once a very manual process, labor intensive, that took 2 to 3, 4 days to complete, now it took 2 to 3 hours to complete.
Mm.
So next, my next mission is, okay, now how do I take this 2 to 3 hour process and make it 2 to 3 minutes? So
Uh-oh.
that's where we're looking at bringing the RPA in on this. Now, I would
Mm.
say we're a long ways from that because RPA has its own challenges, especially for a smaller firm. But that is the next goal, is to automate that from 2 to 3 days, from 2 to 3 hours to 2 to 3 minutes. So we're always looking at ways to streamline and automate those tasks, especially those tasks that have a big impact on our clients' businesses and that can realize real-time savings.
Mm.
So again, right now we are working with one particular client. They're a very large construction client, and they have a lot of fixed assets. So they
Mm-hmm.
buy a lot of heavy equipment. So one of the issues that at tax time is a bit of a bear trying to figure, okay, what did they buy? What did they sell? Because a lot of times those assets are grouped together when they buy them, or they sold in individual and they're sold in individual pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So tax implication like depreciation recapture has to come into play, gain or loss on the sale of the asset. So for me, I'm trying now to build a table that will allow us to capture all the information at the time of purchase or
Mm.
the time of sale. So we're
Mm.
not trying to figure this all out at tax time.
Oh, that's good. That's good. We're taking it from 2 or 3 days
Yes.
to 2 or 3 hours
Yep.
to 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes, that's the goal.
I just saw a lot of stress go away. I just saw a
it,
lot of time come back.
it did. And we realized too that we probably lost money from doing it manually, because
Mm-hmm.
again, you have things that fall through the cracks if you're waiting at the end of the month to build these clients. Where if you're
Mm-hmm.
building them in real time, then you have less loss of revenue.
Oh, let's go back. That's a big point. It's a
Yes.
big point. When you're able to operate in real time, there's less
Yes.
waste.
Exactly.
Higher,
Yes.
higher efficiency.
Yes.
Ooh, ooh. Now is there a difference? Of course there is, but what have you, in your experience, in your approach with smaller and larger corporations? Like, let's talk about the difference between
Yeah.
that and how your approach is with them.
So I would say in smaller businesses, it's easier to get the buy-in. It all goes back to getting the buy-in of the client.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's easier to get the buy-in at smaller businesses, smaller companies, because again, you don't have a lot of red tape to get through. It's not a lot of politics involved. It really isn't. I mean, there's a cost benefit analysis, but it doesn't have to go through all the different approval levels. So at smaller businesses, yes, we can say, hey, this one needs to change. This is why it needs to change, and these are the benefits you're going to receive as a result of the change. Now, larger businesses, I worked in some of the largest businesses or corporations in America. That takes a lot more effort, a lot more time, a lot more buy-in. So, but listen, I never operated the way they wanted me to operate, operated the way I wanted to operate. So for me, I always operated under don't ask for permission, just seek forgiveness later.
I like that. I like that.
So I would make changes on my own. And
Mm-hmm.
then I would bring it to management and say, hey, this is how we did it before, but this is how I've done it like recently. And this is why this way is better. So if you show them like, yes, the value, there's more value added. It saves the organization money and time. Then the forgiveness comes a lot easier than asking for permission and then waiting for them to approve for you to make changes.
Yep. And it sounds like there's not a whole lot of forgiveness that's going to be necessary to be asked for, because when you're winning, you're only as good as
Exactly.
happy.
Exactly. And if you're winning for the organization, like they're even more happier. So like, oh, we didn't realize that. Like, yes, if I would have asked for permission, you never would have realized it.
Yeah. Right. And I'm sure. I'm sure
Yeah.
that they are very grateful.
Yes. Yes.
And we this has been a very exciting year, the
Mhm.
last few years.
It has.
Technology is going to the next level. I'm
Mhm.
talking about, so if we compare technology between now and 10 years ago, it's almost like comparing horse and buggy to the car.
It is, you're right, yes.
And it's very significant in regards to the impact it's having. But there's a lot of trends. I mean, there's a lot of trends that are emerging, and I think it's important for people to understand, what's out there and what's coming down the pike. So
Mhm.
what trends in automation technology
Yeah,
do you believe like will be have the most significant impact on
yeah,
businesses over the next few years? I know you mentioned RPA,
yep.
but our last show was called RPA, the RPA show.
Uh-huh.
We changed it because nobody knows what the heck an RPA is.
No, right, right.
Yeah. So what do you see in regards to the
Yeah.
trends coming down the pipe?
So, we have a lot of acronyms for everything, right? Especially with
Hmm.
technology. We have AI, which is artificial intelligence. We have ML, machine learning. We have RPA, which is robotic process automation. We have
Hmm.
IoT, which is Internet of Things. So I think a lot of those technologies will come into play to help us make better decisions. It will help us analyze data at a fuller scale. It will allow
Hmm.
us to enhance the customer experience or customer journey. So for
Ooh.
me, it's all about, okay, for me specifically in my businesses, I'm always thinking about the client experience. So I'm thinking of ways to utilize technology to enhance or elevate the client experience. But I'm
Mhm.
also thinking about ways how my team can work smarter, not
Right.
harder, but also serve our clients with excellence. So I
Mm.
think when you're thinking about adopting these technologies, think about your end goal. Like, what are you ultimately trying to achieve by implementing them? Because if you're just doing it because everybody else is doing it, then you're doing it wrong. Because
Ooh.
at the end of the day, you're gonna give up on it because it's not serving a purpose. It's not providing a solution that you specifically need in your company.
Hmm.
I think another big one would be cybersecurity. So
Oh yes.
cybersecurity is, oh my gosh, it should be top of mind for every single business in the world. Just because cyber criminals are getting more sophisticated and as like technology improves, they're improving. Listen, they spend 24 hours a day figuring out how to get over on somebody. And
Mm.
so we gotta think about, okay, how do we make sure that the tools we're using and the advanced measures that are coming down the pipeline are protecting data and ensuring business continuity.
Mm.
So for me, those are top of mind when I'm thinking about what's going to be big or have the biggest impact over the next few years for businesses.
Mm. That's big. It's cybersecurity. You hit it on the head. A lot of people don't realize that there's a full-time job out there. People are
Yes,
trying to crack the code on what you're
yes,
doing.
these are companies. These are well organized groups and networks that all they do is figure out how to get over. If they
It's
use their
terrible.
energy for something else, listen, they would be billionaires.
It's just terrible. But
It
you know
is.
what? There's a thing called karmatic energy, karma and
Mm.
energy, and it comes back like a boomerang.
It
So
does,
you may get
but they
you
don't
may
care. That's the thing,
listen.
they do not care.
They don't.
They feel that that karma outweighs the risk of them employing whatever, um, malware or device they're using to hack the next
Mm-hmm.
business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. Now, you, I know you have some nuggets and you have a lot of insight that you have learned. You had to. You had to. But let's talk about some of the most valuable lessons you
Yeah.
learned in the last 18 plus years in accounting and business.
Listen, I when I saw when I thought about this question, I was like, wait, I've learned so many lessons as an accounting professional, as an entrepreneur, as a woman, as a mom, a wife. Like, it's hard for me to say what the most valuable lesson is, but I think I've narrowed it down to like one quote by Warren Buffett. And I want to make sure I get this right. So let me pull up the page where the quote is on because I don't want to mess up Warren's words. So Warren says it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. So for me, I'm always trying to maintain a level of excellence and integrity in everything that I do, even if I'm playing a practical joke on someone. So for me, your reputation matters more than anything in the world. Your name is your name. You don't want to ever ruin or soggy your name. So whenever you do, just make sure that you're doing it with the highest standard and with integrity.
Mm, I love that. I love that. And speaking of the highest standard and integrity, I just think that is so important for longevity
Yes.
because
100%.
everything comes out.
It does. Everything comes to light. Whatever you're trying to do in the dark or
It
think you're
comes
getting away with,
right.
it will come to light.
Hmm. And I think that's important when it comes to building your team too. When it comes
Yes.
to having the right people around you.
Hmm.
And so, what are your thoughts on building teams? I know,
Ah,
yeah, it's a big one because
yes.
you can have a certain kind of energy
Yes.
and you literally can destroy it by bringing the wrong kind of people into your
This is
organization
true.
or into your realm. How do you approach this in building teams?
That is a great question. So I approach building a team as if the person I'm hiring or I'm planning to work with, if I'm okay give them my social, my address, my birth date, like giving
Ooh,
them all the personal identifiable information on me, if I'm
hmm.
comfortable doing that, then I know I have the right person in place.
Oh wow,
If I'm not comfortable doing that, then
yeah,
no, it's gonna be a no for me.
man.
So, because teams are so critically important, because without my team, I could not be the Nicole that people see out on social media. And
Hmm.
trust me, I'm always in these social media streets. But it's also because I have a absolutely fabulous team supporting my clients, our clients, supporting the business, supporting me.
Mm,
So I trust them wholeheartedly. And if I didn't, I just wouldn't have them around.
I like that. I like that. See, you said address, social. Ooh, that's trust. That's
Exactly.
trust. But if you can be in that space though, like
Yeah,
like
because you think about it, they have access to the information for every client we work with.
okay, okay,
That's the
okay,
information they have access to at their fingertips.
right,
So if I can't trust them with my information, I definitely can't trust them with my client's information.
right, right. That's a great way to look at that, Nicole. That's a
Mhm.
great way to look at that. All right, but back to our simply question of the day. Second one. Now this is interesting. This is like singing to the choir director, but
Mhm,
if you could simply automate one thing in your business life
mhm.
right now, you had a magic wand,
Yeah.
or you could wiggle your nose, or however you want to
Yeah.
get the magic to happen, what would you automate?
I've been thinking about this over the last few months because I realized there was a hole in one of our processes and it didn't come to the light until a client, one of our newest clients, fell through the cracks.
Mm,
So I need to better automate our onboarding process with
mm,
clients. So we have a good process ironed out, but there are still holes or gaps that need to be filled. And
mm-hmm.
so that allowed me to come back in to assess where the holes and gaps are and then figure out ways to automate it or make it a better process overall.
What do you see that? Tell me the benefits of that futuristically right
Yes.
now.
Yes. So for one, it's all about a client experience. So
Hmm.
during your onboarding process, if it's not a good experience for the client, they're gonna say, "Well, if this is how the onboarding experience is, then the rest of the experience may be similar, and they may parallel it to that." And it overall, it just sours the client, right?
Mm,
They don't realize or get to see how awesome you really are because during the onboarding process, you drop some balls.
mm-hmm,
So that's number one, client experience. Also, too, making sure like our processes across the board, not just with the onboarding process, it makes us go back and say, let's look at this process, and then how do they all integrate and work together for
mm,
the overall betterment of the company.
mm.
So again, trying to make sure like we have all our ducks in a row, that clients are being taken care of, and
Yep.
that like the experience in house and out house or outside of the house are intact.
Mm, that's good. That's good. The customer experience.
Yes,
That's the beginning. That
yes,
that is the beginning.
yes.
In your customer experience, your employee experience,
Mhm.
the, the combination of that being a good one
Yes.
gives you a good business experience.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Right. Right. Now here's something that we run into a lot. Just
Mhm.
hesitation.
Mhm.
Again, we don't know what we don't know. So a lot of times what we
Yes.
don't know, we're afraid of.
Right.
But what we're afraid of could destroy us if we don't figure it out quickly,
Mhm.
i.e. Blockbuster, right? So like you gotta figure things out quick.
Blockbuster gets thrown on the bus all the time for
I
not
know,
pivoting
right?
quickly
I
enough, huh?
know. It's like one of the greatest examples. Like
Yes.
they had an
Yep.
opportunity to buy the whole Netflix catalog,
Yes.
but
Mhm.
they didn't see it. They were hesitant. They didn't adopt
Mhm.
it. Like, okay.
Mhm.
But what advice would you give to businesses that are really on the fence,
Yeah.
about adopting this automation? Like, what would you tell them?
Oh, what would I tell businesses on the fence about who are hesitant about adopting automation? I would probably say if you're happy running in place, then keep doing what you're doing. But
Mm.
if you want to move forward from point A to point B, from success to success, then automation is going to be required. So, hey, you can let other runners pass you by because they chose automation over stagnation.
Automation over stagnation. That might turn into a rhyme. Automation over stagnation. hmm Automation creates elevation
Yes.
and internal motivation. Yeah,
Oh gosh, let's start wrapping up here.
I'm about to throw a beat on in a minute. That's so serious. You said if you're okay running on the treadmill, keep it up. Oh man,
Yep.
oh man. And what we try to do is we try to paint the picture.
Mhm.
Well, we try to future pace folks to let
Yes.
them see what it could look like, what it could
Right.
be like. And a lot of times when you can shift
Mhm.
their paradigm just enough
Mhm.
to change the perspective. It's so beneficial, so
Yes.
beneficial. All right, so let's go to this. I
Okay.
Give us your best piece of business advice or one of your favorite quotes, well, of yours,
Of mine.
or your best piece of business advice.
Ooh, the best piece of business advice. It would probably be, oh, you know what? And this is a lot of people may not relate to this. I don't think a lot of people think they're creative, but I
Mm,
think we all have creativity in our bones. We just
mm,
need to tap into it. So there's a quote by Maya Angelou says, "You can't use up creativity. The more you use it, the more you have."
ooh,
So I think once people start tapping into their creative bone, tapping into their creative mind, that they realize they have a lot more creativity than they ever thought. They just never really honed it or accessed it or used it. So get creative, get innovative, do more with less, and you'll see that like the world just opens up more for you.
mm. Get creative, do more with less. I love how you said it's like so creativity. It sounds like it's a muscle.
Yes, yes, definitely.
hmm And the more you exercise it, the stronger you get with it.
Yes, exactly.
It's not like gas where it runs out.
No, right, right.
Mm. And do you have anything you do with your team to help to enhance the creativeness? Because creativity is like
Yeah.
it's also a cousin to critical thinking, right?
Mm, yes, you're
And,
right.
and I think that's a huge component in
Mhm.
in challenges and
Yep.
breakthroughs and innovation. Do you have any practices around
I
that?
do. So, listen, in my team, we do a lot of games, we do a lot of
Mm,
challenges, we have a lot of competitions. So, like one of the competition we made for Halloween, for instance, which is also my birthday, we actually had a competition where every team had $10 to decorate their office, and then we all voted on who had the best office for Halloween. So I do things like that, like just to get them creative and thinking and using limited resources and listen, there were some phenomenal offices with those $10, okay? But also too, like, and for Christmas, like, it wasn't a competition, more of a challenge, so I gave them 2 stockings, and they each had to decorate 1 stocking for their office and 1 for the hallway, the main hallway, and they had a
Mm,
limited budget, except the budget was I bought all of the material and had to use what I bought to decorate the stocking. So it's all about, okay, how do we get them involved, get them creative, get them thinking, get them to do more with less? So for me,
mm.
it's all about like having those challenges, competitions, and in creative ways for them to have an outlet in the office.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I hope you guys are listening to this and taking some notes. I tell you, because we only grow from what we know, and we don't
Yes,
know what we don't know, and we can learn from people who know more than us. And
exactly.
so I appreciate you sharing this. Very very insightful. So we're coming in for Atlanta here. What's the best way for folks to get in contact with
Yeah.
you or find out what you're doing?
I am on LinkedIn. I'm l.nicole.davis on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter. I am wife mom CPA 100 on Twitter.
Okay.
We have a huge tax community on Twitter called Tax Twitter. I'm also on Instagram, and you can also find me on Facebook under my name, Nicole Davis CPA.
Oh, you're on Instagram too, huh?
Yes, I'm everywhere.
Everywhere. That is so good. That is so good. Nicole, thank you for being on here. You know what I do? I want to have a round table
Mhm.
with some folks, and you're one. You're one of them.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I would love that.
yeah. I got Raphael coming on tomorrow.
Mhm.
Another person who said Nicole is amazing. I'm like, I said, another one. So I'm gonna have him on tomorrow, and I want to bring him
Rob,
back as well.
you almost blew my cover. Listen, you was hyping me up way too much. I was like, temper it down a little bit, Rob.
I saw your message. I saw your message. But Nicole, thank you for being on the show and sharing your insight, and thank you for answering the call to do what makes you excited.
Yes.
I think that's super important, folks. To I think your purpose is aligned with what you're passionate about, but also what brings value to others. And if you can
Yes.
find something that brings passion to you and value to others, good googly moogly, you're onto something. You're onto something.
Thank
So
you.
I
Thank
appreciate you.
you. Thank you so much for having me on. This was fun.
And let me see, we got an amazing show. Thank you, Jen. Thank you so much. And thank you, Bello. Appreciate that. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Make sure that we're going to have Nicole's information in the comments, in the description. If you're listening to this on a podcast, go ahead and click on something, okay? And you're gonna find it. You're gonna find her information. Nicole, thank you again for being
Thank you
with us.
so much. All right. Thank you.
Automation, automation nation, automation.